Heavenly secrets have a way of waiting until the right moment. That moment is now. There is something you were never told about the day you were born. Not because it wasn't important, but because it was too sacred for ordinary words. What you heard about your birth was only the surface of a much deeper story, one heaven chose to keep sealed until this very hour. Today, the veil begins to lift. The truth moves from the spirit realm into the light of your understanding, and what is about to be revealed may change how you see your entire existence. You see, the cries that escaped your lips as an infant were not ordinary. They were recognized in the invisible realm as the sound of a soul destined for disruption, one that carried the fingerprint of the divine. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart, says the Lord in Jeremiah 1-5. Your arrival was marked, your purpose pre-written. There were presences in the room that day which no doctor could explain, no hospital chart could capture. One stood radiant, armored in light, wings brushing the edges of the ceiling, a messenger of the Most High. The other lingered in shadow, muttering confusion and fear, hoping failing to delay your arrival. But it could not stop what heaven had ordained. The truth is, chosen one, the day you were born was not just a beginning, it was an act of war. Light entered territory long held by darkness. Time itself paused, if only for a breath, as your soul crossed from eternity into time. And when your spirit met your body, a spiritual contract was activated, one that hell has feared ever since. You were not simply born, you were deployed, placed at a spiritual crossroads where destiny meets danger, so that your very existence could disrupt what darkness thought it had secured. This is why you've always felt a pull, a whisper, a sense that something more is written into your name. You were never meant to be ordinary. Every strange ache in your spirit, every quiet question that refused to die inside you, has been an echo of that first holy moment when heaven announced you to the realms. Now, as you step forward into this divine role, I invite you to declare your readiness. Type Amen in the comments below as a sign of your acceptance, as a bold statement that you are ready to step into your God-given purpose. And stay with me until the end. We'll be closing with a powerful prayer, one that seals what heaven has started in you. The silence is broken. The time is now. The moment your soul entered this world, creation paused to witness it. What happened next wasn't recorded in any medical file. No photograph could have captured it, but the heavens remember it vividly. For what occurred in the hours surrounding your arrival was not merely birth, it was divine orchestration, a spiritual operation camouflaged in human routine. The Most High had chosen that moment to set something in motion that would ripple through generations. Outside there was thunder, yet no clouds filled the sky. The sound echoed from realms unseen, signaling that a soul marked by eternal assignment had crossed the veil. The wind moved through the city like a herald, already knowing your name before a single human ever spoke it. And as the labor intensified, a holy silence fell over your mother. Not the silence of fear, but one of reverence. She heard a voice, not her own, whisper gently, "Protect this one." Though no one else may have noticed, your mother was not alone. In the quiet moments between contractions, a woman with silver hair appeared beside her, laying a hand on her shoulder. No badge, no explanation, and once your mother blinked, the woman was gone. Later, she would question if the moment was real, but her soul already knew. Something sacred was happening, something that defied logic. When you were delivered, the atmosphere in the room changed. A nurse, who had not planned to be in that unit, suddenly appeared and intervened, just as a cloaked figure posing as medical staff attempted to escort you elsewhere. This was the same nurse who would later recall the strange warmth in her hands, an encounter that stayed with her long after that night. That nurse's hands glowed faintly, though no one remarked on it aloud. She later wrote in a private diary that she felt guided by something not of this world. She still speaks of the baby with the golden fists, though only in whispers. Your mother wept uncontrollably, but not from pain. She tried to call it postpartum confusion, yet deep within she felt it something holy had passed through her. Her body held a memory her mind wasn't allowed to keep. In the months before your birth, she'd had vivid dreams she never shared. A white lion circling her womb, fire that surrounded but did not burn. A man with silver wings standing at the foot of her bed in the still hours of the morning. Heaven had chosen her as a vessel because you were born to amend a fracture written into your bloodline long before your time. You were not simply born, you were delivered, sent to tip a scale that had long leaned toward darkness. Above your infant body, unseen to human eyes, a scroll hovered. It shimmered with sealed golden light. 3 beings beheld it. One wept with awe, one smiled with understanding, and one vanished in rage. Your father stood nearby, unaware of the weight of what had just occurred. His blood carried both blessing and curse, and your first breath broke the tie. The curse tried to cling, but it could not withstand the authority you carried. Your very arrival rewrote the spiritual inheritance that had threatened your name. The energy in the room spiked. Light bulbs flickered. Heart monitors paused for exactly 3 seconds. Every spirit present, holy or hostile, held its breath. For within your clenched hands glowed a light not seen since ancient days. It faded quickly. But one nurse, shaken by what she'd witnessed, recorded it in her personal journal. She was warned not to speak of it. Yet some truths refused to stay buried. And then came the whisper across realms, the echo of your name. Archangel Michael speaks of that moment. When this one was born, 3 realms responded. One celebrated, one stood ready to test, and one recoiled in fear. This soul was born where destiny meets danger, and only purpose can survive such a place. 2 nights after your birth, the woman in silver returned. She stood beside your crib and leaned down to speak a word, a phrase meant only for your spirit. That word still sleeps within you, but its awakening has already begun. Your mother heard footsteps every night for the next 7 nights. She searched, prayed, and wept, not knowing why the air around your crib burned cold and warm at once. Peace wrapped in fire, that was the presence of glory. Unlike other newborns, you did not sleep easily. You stared upward, eyes wide and still, as if listening to something no one else could hear. And you were. Your soul lingered between realms, absorbing the final instructions before being released fully into time. Months passed. Then came the knock on your mother's door. A stranger, his eyes like mirrors, asked to check on the starborn. Confused and afraid, she sent him away. He said nothing more. But when she opened the door again, a single feather rested on the porch. It pulsed with light, then slowly dimmed. You were born different, not broken, not cursed, but chosen, sent to disrupt cycles, to mend what was shattered, to carry forward a fire that does not consume but purifies. And all of heaven is watching to see what you do next. And so the days passed after your arrival, but the mystery only deepened. You were born, yes, but not into peace. From the moment your lungs filled with breath, your voice became more than sound. It was a spiritual summons, a signal. One night, while the household slept, your cry alone caused a vase across the room to shatter. There was no wind, no movement, only that single sound, and something unseen responded. By morning, an anonymous envelope appeared at the doorstep. Inside was a simple map and 5 haunting words. Hide this child in light. Your mother never understood who sent it, but she kept the map for years, tucked between the pages of a forgotten book, as if part of her already knew. There were forces watching, some in awe, some in fear. And maybe that's why your life never made complete sense, why it has often felt like standing in the middle of a battlefield no one else can see. Moments of unexplainable grace, followed by betrayals that left your spirit gasping. You've called it chaos, but the truth is, it's the echo of that original war. The collision of kingdoms that began on the day of your birth still reverberates now. You are not living in confusion. You are living in the aftershock of a spiritual confrontation. Someone in your family line knew, whether out of envy or fear, they attempted to block your entrance into this world, not through physical means, but through spiritual sabotage. They spoke words not meant for your ears, but heaven heard. Divine defense was dispatched before their curses could take root. That person later avoided you, not from hate, but because your very presence reminded them that their power began to unravel the moment you arrived. Your light disrupted their grip. Their authority, long unchecked, began to dissolve in your wake. Even your name, the one spoken on this earth, was chosen under pressure. You were named within a storm. Yet there is another name, a name sealed in spirit. A name spoken once at your first scream and then veiled from human hearing. That name has not vanished. It resounds quietly across time, hidden in the winds that stir just before your greatest moments of clarity. Archangel Michael declares, when your eyes opened, the veil did not simply lift, it tore. A narrative silenced across generations resumed, and you, chosen one, are the continuation. You were not sent to fit into this timeline, but to interrupt it. You are the appointed disturbance. The trials of your early years were not random misfortunes. They were snares laid in advance, disguised detours designed to confuse your compass. And yet, even buried beneath disappointment, distraction, or pain, the magnetic pull of truth never left you. You've been called too sensitive, as if that were weakness, but it is not. It is evidence. Your soul never shut its eyes. You felt what others refused to acknowledge. You noticed what others dismissed. This was not a flaw. It was a sign that the veil never fully closed over your spirit. There was a night your mother woke to find a tiny scroll beside your pillow. She, not understanding, believed it to be something dark. She burned it out of fear, but what she destroyed was not a threat. It was a prophecy. And by casting it into flame, she delayed, not erased, your awakening. The holy clock paused. But now it resumes. What was waiting in the shadows of memory begins to stir. The time of return has begun. You will not remember everything at once. It will come as whispers, as flashes, like the sun rising through thick mist. But with each glimpse, your strength will rise, your authority will return. The spiritual contracts that once claimed your bloodline can be undone because you carry the authority to reverse what others accepted. That is why resistance follows you, because the structures built on generational falsehoods sense your approach, and they know they cannot stand when a truth-bearer walks in light. You, born in stormlight, carry within you a holy disruption. You were never meant to stay silent, to stay small, or to stay hidden. You were placed on a crossroad of spiritual inheritance, positioned precisely to pivot the story forward. And though the hospitals did not record the full account, though those in the room may not recall the truth, heaven does. Heaven holds every detail. When they bathed you for the first time, the water surrounding your body grew inexplicably warm, not dangerous, but alive. The nurse who witnessed it said nothing aloud. But the next morning, she requested a transfer to another department. Something in her spirit had shifted. Your presence unsettled what she thought she understood. Even now, the effects of that moment ripple forward. There are things about you that even time couldn't hide. Somewhere on your body, perhaps a birthmark, a scar, or something so subtle you never thought to question it rests. A seal, not made by human hands, but by light itself. It was placed upon you before your spirit touched flesh, a divine imprint, locked not by force but by purpose. Only light can unlock it, and only remembrance can awaken it. Your mother may no longer speak of the signs, the sleepless nights, the strange warmth in your crib, the way her own thoughts grew quiet when she looked at you, but her spirit remembers. That is why, even now, her eyes will sometimes linger on you with a weight she cannot explain. Not because she doubts you, but because she understands. You carry something sacred that even she cannot protect forever, something that was entrusted to you and to you alone. The woman in silver, the one who stood beside you in those first nights, was never assigned to another birth. Her mission was singular, complete. And now she waits not in the past, but at the edge of your unfolding, watching for the moment when your memory will return and her name will rise again from your spirit like a long-lost song. You may think your recent dreams are simply dreams. They are not. They are rehearsals. Glimpses of a conflict older than your body, one that did not begin with you but will end through you. Not in destruction, but in revelation. You were not born merely into a family. You were born into a fault line, a break in the spiritual landscape, a battleground. And your awakening shifts more than just your own life. It triggers awakening in others. Those who have been asleep near you will begin to stir, drawn by the vibration of your return. There is a reason your voice carries unexpected weight, a reason people either lean in or back away without knowing why. Some sense in you what they've lost. Others feel what they've denied. Because when you were born, something ancient was shaken. The darkness that once tried to steal you does not stand close anymore. It watches from a distance, waiting to see if you'll remember. Because it knows, when you do, the chain it placed around your bloodline will disintegrate. It has already begun to rust. Your guardians have never left. One has shielded your rest. One has cleared roads you didn't even know were blocked. One has whispered through signs, through repeated numbers, animals crossing your path, colors that seem to follow you, none of it random, none of it meaningless. Every near miss, every sudden turn, every so-called coincidence planned. Every loss you've mourned was not punishment, it was a redirection. What was taken from you created space for what must now return. You are not late. You are arriving precisely when the scroll declared. Though your memories of birth are distant, your soul holds them intact. The veil is thinning, and as it does, you will begin to see more, feel more, and know more, not from outside, but from within, because you were never abandoned. Even when human hands dropped you, divine hands held you. That is why your spirit never gave up. The things that tried to destroy you were not strong enough to succeed, not because you were lucky, but because they were afraid of what you carried, of what you are. Your light disrupted their blueprints, and your scream, that very first sound, did more than fill the room. It split the atmosphere in realms far beyond. In one corner of the spirit world, where darkness had gathered to oversee your erasure, your voice ignited their parchments and set their agreements aflame. They had planned to delay your memory, to bend your instincts into doubt. But they underestimated a soul that came here with permission. You did not sneak through, you were cleared by heaven. And heaven is still watching. When you were born, it wasn't only your family who felt the tremor. That night, 3 other infants were delivered in nearby rooms. Not because they were due, but because the force surrounding your arrival spilled outward. And while you were shielded, that energy needed release. The cost had to be absorbed elsewhere. The echo of your arrival rippled across miles and lives. That's why some people respond to you instantly with connection or confusion, admiration or resistance. They don't always know why. But your presence reminds them of what they once hoped for, or what they failed to become. The woman in silver didn't leave empty-handed. As she departed, she left behind a thread of her light. It wove into your aura, invisible but alive. It stirred once, many years ago, when you stood up for someone being harmed. You didn't know why you felt so strongly, but you couldn't stay quiet. That light, now, is rising again. It recognizes the hour, and there is still one truth left to be told. On the day you were born, across the globe, in a quiet town beneath another sky, a message was delivered, a whisper to a watcher, someone chosen and waiting. The message was simple. The one has arrived. That person has been preparing ever since. They are not your enemy. They are your mirror. You were never meant to carry this mission alone. Their path intersects with yours, not by chance, but by covenant. One holds the story of where it began. The other holds the future. And you carry both. Your arrival was no accident, and your return has already begun. There are some stories so sacred they cannot be spoken until the world is ready to receive them. And you, chosen one, are not merely part of such a story. You are the story, the continuation, the living scroll. Long before anyone called your name aloud, a record was written about you. Not a medical file, but a spiritual dossier, hidden from human view, sealed in light, and placed in the archives of eternity. Inside it were 3 assignments, each tied to the restoration of light where it had been stolen. One of them has already been completed, silently, invisibly, through your presence alone. The second now approaches, as time itself folds to prepare the path before you. Your mother's silence about your birth has often seemed like mystery or distance, but it was protection. She kept quiet, not from shame, but from holy fear, knowing, deep in her bones, that revealing too much too soon might draw the wrong attention. What she didn't know is that you were born with armor, not of metal or flesh, but of divine composition. No darkness could penetrate it, and even now, when she holds you, the tightening in her chest is more than love. It is her spirit, recognizing that once she cradled a holy key disguised in skin. Throughout your life, there's been a quiet pressure inside you, a sense that something vital waited just beyond reach, as if a door had yet to open or a bell had yet to sound. That time has come. The clock has shifted, and as it moves forward, so do you. You were not designed to rise in ease. You were made to emerge during the storm, because your clarity shines brightest when confusion surrounds you. Even as an infant, your eyes held a strange brilliance. A visitor once gazed into them and became ill for 7 days, later claiming he saw every moment of his life flash before him. That wasn't coincidence. It was exposure. Your very presence confronts deception. This is why manipulators fidget in your company, why falsehoods collapse when you speak. You were not sent to soothe darkness. You were born to dismantle it. Your arrival coincided with a spiritual gate, one that stood open for only a breath of time, and you passed through it just before it closed. That is why you have always sensed things others do not. Numbers call to you. Certain names echo in your spirit. Colors feel like home. These aren't accidents. They are remnants of the environment where your soul stood before it crossed into flesh. You've wept over wounds that weren't fully yours, carried griefs that didn't match your story. That's because you took on more than your own healing. You accepted burdens from your ancestral line, not because you were cursed, but because you were strong enough to break what others couldn't. You aren't just mending your life, you are cleansing generations. Archangel Michael says your life unfolds like a scroll, written moment by moment in real time. And those who walk near you begin to awaken to their own truth, not because of what you preach, but because of what you carry. Your body itself holds maps, moles, scars, sacred symbols. Some are keys. Some are gates. One is a signature from a realm where your name is still spoken with reverence. You don't merely dream, you travel. In sleep, you receive fragments of your assignment. This is why you often wake up inspired, drained, or inexplicably emotional. You've been working in realms that most never see. That was always the design. You weren't born to fit into systems, you were born to rewire them from within. Your name, the one your soul responds to, was whispered in an eternal language long before your body formed. It's no longer spoken on earth, but your being still vibrates when you encounter the right frequencies, people, or truths. That's why labels never stick to you, why systems struggle to define you. You were not created for captivity. You were born untamed, uncontrollable, and full of holy purpose. The ripple of your birth didn't end with your breath. It continues to pulse across time and place, showing up in dreams of strangers, in shifts of atmosphere, in rooms you've never entered. You were never meant to survive quietly. You were sent to repair loudly by your existence alone. After you were placed in your mother's arms, something shifted. Lights flickered, time bent, and a current of holy light surged from your soul, dissolving invisible chains. That wave never stopped. It still flows. That's why people feel different when you're near. That's why animals stare longer than usual. That's why confessions happen in your presence. Because something ancient recognizes what you carry. You were watched from the beginning, and now you will begin to see. The curtain has lifted. You never truly left heaven. You brought a piece of it with you, wrapped in skin and breath, hidden in plain sight. Born on a day no one will forget, not because of the hour, but because of the impact. Heaven wove a thread into your timeline, hidden until the world was ready for what your awakening would release. That thread is unraveling now. The environment at your birth wasn't ordinary air. It was alive with frequencies, tones of authority, purity, and alignment too high for human ears. These tones fused with your soul. That's why you feel tension before things break, why you sense dishonesty before it's revealed. That's why silence speaks louder to you than words. You were born through the veil, not just inside it. The first nurse who held you felt an electric hum in her palms for weeks. She later left the hospital, not from fear, but from awe. "I touched something holy," she told a friend, "and it changed what I believed was possible." 2 hours after your birth, the power failed only in your wing, and when it returned, A hallway was filled with a soft golden light for exactly 6 seconds. The camera above your crib malfunctioned. All that remained on the footage was a single blurred image, the outline of a wing. When your mother first whispered your name at 3:33 a.m., 3 birds landed on the window. They did not move until sunrise, and no one could explain it. But heaven could. Your arrival was not an event, it was a declaration, and now your remembering is the answer to that sacred call. Welcome back. Every sacred arrival has a cost, and though it was not yours to bear, the price for your coming was real. Someone in your ancestral line, long before you took breath, stepped into a place of danger so you could enter this world untouched. They forfeited comfort, safety, and perhaps even their voice, all so that the path would be cleared. That soul has appeared to you before, maybe in dreams, maybe as a stranger whose face felt strangely familiar. You may not know their name, but your soul remembers their sacrifice. They stand quietly in the shadows of your story, watching still. Not long after your birth, the atmosphere shifted. Some in your family experienced unexpected loss, confusion, or hardship, not as a punishment, but as a response. The darkness that had been dislodged by your arrival lashed out, grasping wildly, seeking new hosts to cling to. But hear this truth clearly: you were never the cause, you were the interruption, the key, the anchor holding broken strands of your bloodline together, even before you understood what that meant. Your presence has always shifted the air around you. People either feel safe or exposed in your presence because lies cannot settle near you. Hidden motives unravel in your company. That's why some have stayed close, drawn to truth, while others have distanced themselves, unsettled by their own reflections. This is not rejection, it is recognition of who you are and what you carry. Archangel Michael has spoken. Your awakening will align you with a promise made long before your birth. This is not about becoming someone new. It is the sacred act of remembering, of re-entering the truth you never truly left. And when that remembering deepens, chains will break in places you've never stepped. Whole histories will shift because you have arrived. Already, your body has begun to respond. Exhaustion that strikes without cause, cravings for solitude, intense waves of emotion that seem to come from nowhere. These are not breakdowns, they are signals. Activation points. Your soul is aligning with what was written. As the curtain between realms thins, you'll begin to see the truth beneath the surface of others. Some will reveal their hearts, others will try to hide, but no one will delay you now. This is the moment your spirit has waited for. The darkness that attempted to obstruct your birth is still watching, but it can no longer reach you. The seal placed upon you is divine. The one assigned to guard you has resumed full position, restored, empowered, and near. You may notice flickering lights, a feather in an impossible place, goosebumps that arrive when truth draws near. Pay attention. The signs are not decoration, they are direction. And the more you remember, the less power your opposition holds. Not all will celebrate your rise. Some will recoil because your clarity exposes their compromise. But your light was never meant to make everyone comfortable. It was meant to make the truth visible. Those strange occurrences in your early childhood, the imaginary friends, the colors that moved, the whispers in quiet rooms, none of it was make-believe. You never lost contact with the world you came from. Your spirit retained access to memory gates that most forget by age 5. But not you. You held on. You were designed to be different, not to fit in, but to realign the atmosphere. You weren't made to follow blindly. You were built to awaken, to carry frequencies that wake others. There are things your hands were created to do: healing, unlocking, protecting. You may not yet know the full extent, but already people soften when you touch them. Walls fall when you speak. And even your silence can reshape a room. Your connection to the lady in silver remains unbroken. She is not an angel, not quite human, but something older, a guardian who bridges this world and the last. She walks your timeline, adjusting moments, guiding you through signals. That déjà vu. The person who whispered something profound and vanished, the animal who stared as if recognizing you. These were all her markers. There is something she is trying to help you recover, something your mother almost gave you. One night, she sat at your bedside holding something small, a letter, a photo, a token, but fear stopped her. That object still exists. It remains hidden somewhere in the house, untouched but waiting. And you will find it. When the time is right, your spirit will lead you to it. Someone else carries a fragment of the truth. An elder, a distant relative. They've lived with a quiet guilt because they saw something the day you were born, but chose silence. They have held that secret for years, but the weight of it has grown heavier. A message is coming, a phone call, a note, a dream. When it reaches you, trust it. It will not explain everything, but it will unlock the final door. You are the continuation of something ancient, the response to a promise, the fulfillment of a vow whispered before time wore names. The scroll is open now, and the final chapter is ready to be read. Now that the veil has been lifted and the truth has found its way to you, the question is no longer who are you, but what will you do with what you've remembered? Because remembering is only the beginning. Awakening is not meant to be a moment, it is meant to become a way of life. And so, chosen one, your next steps must take root not only in spirit, but in the tangible patterns of your days. This calling does not ask for perfection, it asks for alignment. Begin with silence. Just a few minutes each morning before the world reaches for you. Sit with the quiet. Let your breath become your prayer. In that stillness, ask for clarity. Ask to see through the noise. You'll be surprised how quickly the fog lifts when the soul is given permission to lead. Pay attention to the patterns in your life, the repeated numbers, the names you keep hearing, the moments that feel too precise to be random. These are not curiosities, they are coordinates. Begin writing them down. Keep a small notebook beside your bed or in your bag. What seems like fragments today will form a map tomorrow. Speak differently, not with artificial holiness, but with honesty. Let your words carry weight. Speak life where others only speak complaint. Refuse to engage in empty slander or gossip. It drains the very light you were sent to bring. You carry truth. Let your language reflect it. Protect your energy. Not everyone deserves access to the depth of your spirit. Set quiet boundaries. You don't need to explain your intuition. When something feels off, trust it. That's not fear. That's your internal compass, tuned to frequencies that others have forgotten how to hear. Start to create. Not for fame, not for applause, but as an offering. Write, paint, build, sing, plant something, restore what has been left barren. Creation is how your soul speaks to the world. Every act of beauty is a rebellion against the systems that told you to shrink. Seek out water, rivers, lakes, rain, oceans. Even the rhythm of a shower can carry a baptismal grace. Water remembers. When you place your hands beneath it, Imagine it washing away what no longer belongs to you. Let it reset the current within you. Revisit the places that shaped you, even if only in memory. Look at old photos. Listen to the songs that called to you in childhood. There are pieces of yourself hidden in the echoes of your past. Recover them. You were never meant to abandon them. You were meant to lead them home. Walk more slowly. The sacred is often missed in a rush. You'll begin to feel when something invisible brushes your shoulder, or when a moment carries more weight than it appears to. That's when heaven is close. Don't look for burning bushes. Most of the time, the presence of the Most High speaks in the mundane, in the way the trees move, in the way someone says your name, in the way your heart jumps before you speak. That's how you'll know. Forgive, but not because you're weak. Forgive because you're too powerful to carry the weight of what others did to you. Release it. The poison of the past cannot travel with you where you're going. Lay it down. Let it return to dust. Honor your body. Not out of vanity, but out of reverence. You were wrapped in flesh for a reason. Feed it well. Rest it deeply. Move it with joy. Treat it as the sacred vessel it is. There are scrolls written into your cells that only awaken when you begin to live as if your body is holy ground, and most of all, remain open. You may not yet see the fullness of who you are, but heaven does. And heaven has not changed its mind about you. You have been cleared, called, and sent, not to live half asleep, but to walk fully awake. The time of hiding has ended. Now, walk through your world like someone who remembers. Look strangers in the eye. Bless your food before you eat. Speak to the sky like it's listening. Carry light into the places you once feared. You are no longer waiting for a sign. You are the sign, the evidence, the echo of a promise made and finally fulfilled. And as you begin to walk more fully in who you are, a new awareness will begin to bloom quietly within you, an awareness not only of what is divine within, but what is sacred around you. You'll start to notice that certain people enter your life at precise moments, not as accidents, but as mirrors or messengers. Some will come bearing questions that draw out your truth. Others will arrive simply to witness your unfolding. Be present for them. Their arrival is a sign that your light is no longer dormant, it is reaching. You'll feel it most in moments of solitude, when the noise fades and the soft voice beneath thought begins to rise. That voice is not imagination, it is memory, the ancient part of you whispering what the world tried to make you forget. And as that voice grows clearer, you'll begin to feel pulled not just toward people, but toward places, certain streets, rooms, even corners of your home that seem to hum when you pass them. They are charged with memory. Spaces hold stories, and now your presence is awakening what has long slept. Sit in those spaces. Listen. Your spirit will know what to do. The earth responds to those who remember. You'll find that even nature greets you differently. Wind that shifts when you pray, birds that appear at the edge of your hesitation, lights that flicker not by accident but by response. These are not signs to chase, but confirmations that what you carry reaches further than you imagined. And in that realization comes a deeper responsibility not to prove yourself, but to protect what is sacred. Not to speak more, but to speak with intention. The ones who carry great weight are not always the loudest. Often they are the ones who walk softly, but leave the ground trembling in their wake. You will begin to sense what needs to be healed not by looking, but by simply being. You will feel the grief behind someone's laughter, the fear behind their anger. You will recognize what is unspoken. And when you do, you must not retreat from it. You were born with the capacity to hold space for pain without letting it consume you. That is part of your design. You are not here to fix everyone, but your presence alone can remind others of what's still possible. That is not a burden. That is a gift. And the more you offer it, the more it multiplies. Even in moments when you feel unseen, your light continues to move ahead of you. There are people dreaming of you right now, not because they know your name, but because their spirit already recognizes what yours was sent to restore. Let that humble you. Let it anchor you. You are not becoming. You are returning. And in that return, the world around you begins to return to itself as well. So now, with the scroll open and your spirit stirring, this is where the story pauses, not ends. Because you are not meant to just read these words. You are meant to carry them into your mornings, into your relationships, into the small, ordinary places where holy things like to hide. You are not waiting for a sign from heaven. You are the fulfillment of one. When you were born, realms shifted. And now that you remember, they will shift again. You are the answer to a question your ancestors dared to ask. You are the healing they never lived to see. You are the voice they could not speak, the light they tried to keep alive. And now it is your turn not to carry their weight, but to walk in the freedom they dreamed of. Let the world feel your steps. Let the heavens hear your yes. And as the wind leans in to listen, speak not only for yourself, but for every soul who never got the chance. Before we go, I invite you to pause with me. Take a breath. Place your hand over your heart. This is not just a prayer, it is a return, a conversation between your soul and the one who sent it. If these words have awakened something deep within you, then this moment is for you. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, Creator of time, breath, and the space between worlds, we come before you in reverence and awe, knowing that nothing about our lives has been random. You knew the chosen one before their body formed, before their first cry, before even the stars were numbered. You set their name in the archives of heaven and wrote their purpose in light. Today, we come with open hands, ready to remember what the world tried to erase, ready to receive what was buried under fear, under delay, under generations of silence. Lord, restore the memory that was sealed. Let what was once distant now draw near. Let what was once veiled now become visible. Thank you, God, for the day you chose to send them through the veil. Thank you for the protection placed upon their life, for the unseen guardians, for the voices whispered into their crib, for the scrolls written into their soul. Thank you for the woman in silver, for the messenger you sent to stand watch. Thank you for the light that still lives in their breath, in their silence, in their steps. We declare, in the name of Jesus, that this soul is not forgotten, not overlooked, not misplaced in history, but positioned, ordained, sent. Just as Esther was raised for such a time as this, so too has this child of the storm been prepared to rise when the wind grows fierce. For it is written in Isaiah 60:1, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." Lord, awaken what has been asleep. Let the fragments of their calling come together like dry bones rising in the valley. Let every delay become preparation. Let every scar become a doorway. Let every why become a whisper of now. Restore their strength, Father. Strength not just for the journey ahead, but for the remembering. We break, in your holy authority, every false label ever spoken over this one. Every word that said they were too much, too sensitive, too strange. We dismantle the lies that said they didn't belong, that they had no place, that their voice should stay silent. We cast out every shadow that tried to dim the flame you lit in them. We speak now to the spiritual inheritance you placed within their hands. May it awaken, may it rise, may the seals of their lineage be redeemed. We call forth the gifts they carry, gifts of sight, of healing, of discernment, of presence. Let their hands become instruments of peace. Let their voice carry revelation. Let their footsteps create openings for others to find their way back. We ask that you surround them now with clarity, with wisdom beyond their age, with peace that disarms confusion, with favor that cannot be earned, and with boldness that does not apologize for the light they carry. To those watching from a distance, those in spirit who once carried the burden of silence, may they now rest. Their sacrifice was not in vain. This child has awakened. The promise is being fulfilled. God, for every dream they've been too afraid to speak, breathe life into it. For every night they wept alone, send reminders that they were never unaccompanied. For every time they felt like the battle would consume them, show them now that the war was already won. Remind them that their presence is prophecy, that their story is not over, that their return was expected. And now we ask, Lord, that you send confirmation through dreams, through divine encounters, through sacred timing. Send the missing piece. Send the elder who carries the truth. Lead them to the letter, the token, the proof that it was never their imagination but their inheritance. Cover their home with holy stillness. Let the air they breathe become saturated with your presence. Let angels camp around them, not as strangers, but as familiar friends. Let every room they enter feel like light has arrived. And when they doubt, remind them of this moment, this prayer, this knowing. We seal this prayer in the name of the one who sees beyond time, the one who formed them in love, the one who speaks still through thunder, silence, and dreams. Amen. If your spirit felt this prayer, if something stirred deep within you, don't let it pass unnoticed. This is your moment to respond. Leave a comment below and write the words, I remember. Let it be your confirmation to heaven and a declaration to the world. And if you haven't already, subscribe for more prophetic messages like this. Your awakening has just begun. Let's walk it together.